85% of technology implementations fail to achieve the expected results. That number hasn't moved in decades, not through cloud migration, not through digital transformation, not through AI. The platforms get better. The failure rate stays the same. The Hansen Fit Score was built to explain why before the first dollar is committed. My name is John Hansen. I'm the founder of Hansen Models and the creator of the Hansen Method. For 4 decades, I've been asking one kind of question, not what does the technology do, but can the organization absorb what the technology produces? That question changed the outcome of every initiative I've ever been a part of. Let me show you what I mean. In 1998, Canada's Department of National Defence had an MRO procurement platform delivering 51% next day against a 90% contractual requirement. They asked me to automate the system, make it faster, process more orders. In today's language, generate more agentic work units and throughput. I asked one question nobody had thought to ask. What time do orders come in? The answer was 4 p.m., and that answer revealed everything. Service technicians were sandbagging orders until end of day to maximize their service call counts. By 4 p.m., dynamic pricing had escalated. Customs clearance with U.S. suppliers was impossible overnight. Parts arrived late and at a higher cost every single day. No one inside the system could see it because no one had asked the question. The solution didn't come from faster automation. It came from diagnosing the behavioral pattern the system couldn't see. Within 3 months, delivery hit 97.3%. Costs dropped 23%, sustained over 7 consecutive years. The Hansen Fit Score is designed to ask the 4 o'clock question systematically across 3 dimensions. Before, and this is the key, before you select a vendor. All right, let's look at this. Let's dig down a little bit deeper. Here's the Hansen Fit Score measures. Here's what we measure. Dimension 1 is technical capability. Now, technical capability, can the platform do what it claims? That's what it asks. Functional depth, integration, architecture, scalability, platform maturity. This is what every analyst report already measures. Gartner, Forrester, IDC, it's necessary, but it is not sufficient. Behavioral, and then we're going to the dimension 2 here, behavioral alignment. Can the vendor's delivery ecosystem support their implementation model, their partner network, their services approach, their change management support? Actually translate that technology into successful outcomes. This is what nobody measures. This is where the 85% fail. Not because the technology doesn't work, because the delivery model doesn't reliably land it in organizations. Let's move on to dimension 3, readiness compensator. What must change inside your organization before the technology conversation begins? Your decision structure, your governance, your cross-functional alignment, your data readiness. This is phase 0. This is the gap between buying a platform and succeeding with it. The distance between dimension 1 and the composite of all 3. That's the capability to outcome gap. I want you to remember that. Capability to outcome gap. It's the implementation risk the vendor's sales deck will never show you. And let me show you today what that looks like with a real assessment. This is SAP Ariba. Now, technology capability, 7.5 out of 10. The platform is advanced. Gartner rates it highly. Forrester rates it highly. We agree the technology works. It's never been a technology issue. The Hansen Fit Score composite, all 3 dimensions, 4.3 out of 10. When you factor in SAP Ariba's documented track record on behavioral alignment and readiness support, based on 18 years of evidence in the proprietary Procurement Insights archives. The implementation success probably drops dramatically. That 3.2 gap is the capability to outcome gap I talked about earlier. It's the distance between what the platform can do from a technical standpoint or a technology standpoint and what most organizations will actually achieve with it. That gap is the implementation risk. The vendor's sales deck will never show. Now, here's the question someone is going to ask. What about my organization? Where do we fit? Well, let's look at your organization now. This is the slide that explains the 80% failure rate in 4 numbers. SAP Ariba's technology, 7.5 strong. SAP Ariba's delivery composite score, 4.3. That means their implementation ecosystem, partners, services, change management, operates at 43% of what their technology is capable of. The vendor is already carrying a deficit into their relationship with you. The minimum practitioner score to succeed with this vendor has to be 7.0 or above. In some cases, we even suggest 7.5, but 7.0 is the bare minimum. That's top quartile. Strong governance, clean data, proven change absorption, executive alignment before, and this is the key word, before implementation begins. Now, why so high? Because a vendor at 4.3 carries no cushion, no margin of error. A vendor with an 8.0 composite can absorb a weaker practitioner. Their delivery model carries some of the weight. SAP Ariba at 4.3 cannot. Every gap in your readiness hits the implementation directly. Where most organizations actually sit when nobody has measured their readiness, well, that's usually between 4.5 to 5.5. There's the math. Vendor composite 4.3 plus typical practitioner 5.0 equals combined readiness of 4.65 against a success threshold of 7.0. Below threshold, statistically joining the 80% failure rate. Again, I want to emphasize this. When you are below the threshold of 7.0, you are joining the 80% of organizations who are not ready to implement the solution. Phase 0, what the Hansen Fit Score does, phase 0 takes the practitioner from 5.0 to 7.0 or above before the contract is signed. And that's the key. That's the difference between joining the 80% and being positioned to succeed. Now, someone is probably going to ask, where do these numbers come from? And that's a fair question. The foundational methodology, RAM 2025, is built on RAM 1998, which was developed for the Department of National Defense MRO procurement practice through funding by the Government of Canada's Scientific Research and Experimental Development Program. That model delivered the 97.3 accuracy and 23% cost reduction I just described. It wasn't theoretical. It was tested under government-funded research conditions in a production environment. I want to emphasize this, a real-world, real-time production environment, and validated through 7 years of documented operational results. The longitudinal accuracy is maintained through the Procurement Insights archives, 2007 to present. It consists of over 3,300 published documents, the most comprehensive independent practitioner-provider archive in the industry. Every assessment is then validated through RAM 2025. 12 independent AI models tasked not with confirming the score, but with challenging it through structured dissent. If the finding can't survive 12 adversarial perspectives through 5 levels, it doesn't publish. No vendor funding, no referral fees, no implementation revenue. The score has no incentive to tell you what you want to hear. If something in your current initiative doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And I've heard this a number of times from many people. The train's going to go off the tracks. Something's missing. I don't think it's going to work. That instinct is worth a conversation. I solve problems. I always have. Whether you walk through the door is your decision. But the bottom line is simply this. No matter how advanced the technology has gotten, through decades, the results, the outcomes have been the same. And now you have a way to change that. Thank you.